All right, so today we're going deep on Ramadan.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our listeners probably have, some sense of what Ramadan is.
Right.
But we want to kind of go a little beyond that.
Absolutely.
Beyond just like, oh, it's the month of fasting, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the most interesting things is that it's on the lunar calendar, right?
Yeah.
So have you ever thought about how that actually impacts,
Oh, absolutely.
how Ramadan is observed?
Yeah, that's actually a really great point because I think a lot of people just think of it as like, oh, Ramadan is in the summer sometimes or Ramadan's in the winter.
Right.
But they don't realize that it actually makes it kind of, how should I say it, like an adventure every year.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
it's different every time.
It's different every time. Like one year you might be breaking your fast at, 5 p.m. and having just a really quick bite before you have to go to like evening prayer.
Oh.
And then the next year, you're not breaking your fast until 9 p.m. and it's like a huge, meal under the stars.
Yeah, that's so true.
So it really does like change the whole rhythm of your life.
Yeah.
Like on a day-to-day basis during Ramadan.
It's like a different spiritual challenge every time,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really fascinating.
Yeah, and speaking of challenges, we should probably talk about the cornerstone of Ramadan, which is, of course, fasting.
Right.
Or Psalm, as it's called in Arabic.
Right.
And, I think a lot of times it's simplified, right? People just think, oh, it's, not eating or drinking.
Yeah.
But the sources we looked at really delve into some really interesting, I guess, psychological and even social implications of it.
Yeah, and I've even heard about, some studies about how fasting can actually change,
change your brain chemistry.
Yeah, like your brain chemistry, make you more focused.
Yeah, help you focus more. Yeah.
Even boost creativity and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that some of what you're referring to?
That's definitely part of it. But I think what I found really interesting is how fasting can really reshape your perspective on basic needs,
Oh, yeah.
Like one of the sources we looked at was it was a collection of personal essays from Muslims around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one story from a doctor, and she was saying that fasting really helped her connect with her patient's suffering on a much deeper level.
Oh, wow.
Because, it's one thing to intellectually understand that someone's going through hardship, but to actually physically experience those pangs of hunger and thirst.
Right.
It gives you a whole other level of empathy.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
Yeah, it's really profound.
Yeah.
And that empathy, it's not just personal, right? It spills over into the community.
Right.
And I think that's, one of the things that's really emphasized during Ramadan is charity.
Yeah.
And especially zakat.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is, it's not just like a random act of giving. It's actually a very, very calculated system.
Oh, wow.
Designed to redistribute wealth and ensure social welfare.
I've always known about zakat, but I've never thought about it that way.
Right.
As a calculated system.
Right.
I've always just thought of it as giving alms.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's much more complex and nuanced.
It's a very sophisticated system, and our sources actually they even dove into the history of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, tracing it all the way back to the Prophet Muhammad's time and how it kind of evolved into this this very sophisticated system with specific categories and guidelines and
wow.
And it's really fascinating when you think about it. It's one of the earliest examples that we have of a social safety net.
Right.
Within, a religious framework.
Yeah. Yes. That's a side of Ramadan I honestly had never considered, that it's not just spiritual, but it really has social and economic impacts as well.
Yeah, it's all interwoven.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating.
That's amazing.
And that brings us back to why Ramadan is considered the holiest month in Islam.
Oh, okay.
Because, yes, it is the month of the Quran's revelation, but it's also about, how that revelation is translated into action.
Right.
Both personally and within society as a whole.
So it's not just receiving the divine guidance.
Right.
But it's about actually
living it out.
Living it out.
Yeah, embodying those principles in a tangible way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And that's really where I think the beauty of Ramadan lies.
Yeah.
But, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we should probably take a closer look at some of the key traditions that kind of shape the whole experience of Ramadan.
Oh,
And I'm talking about suhoor and iftar, the pre-dawn and sunset meals.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of bookend each day of fasting.
Yeah, I've always been a little envious of the pre-dawn.
Suhoor.
Yeah, like those feasts.
Yeah.
I've always thought there's something so like peaceful and serene about like sharing a meal when, the rest of the world is still kind of
it's a really special time.
Asleep.
Yeah, it really sets a unique tone for the day.
Yeah.
One of the accounts that we read, this person was describing it as like almost like a time for quiet contemplation and intention setting.
Oh, I love that.
It's like, this little mini ritual that you do before you start the fast.
Yeah.
To kind of prepare yourself mentally and spiritually.
So it's not just like fueling the body. It's like fueling the soul as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, of course, you have iftar.
Right.
Which is the breaking of the fast.
Right. And that's always what I've always been so struck by is how communal iftar is.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Like it's often a pretty like big affair.
Yeah, it's a very social event.
With lots of like, family and friends and
gathering together.
Yeah.
To share delicious food and just reconnect. And, our sources really highlight how much that shared experience like strengthens bonds and creates this like sense of unity that goes beyond just like your immediate family,
Yeah. And, it makes me think about, we were looking at some research about communal dining.
Oh, yeah.
And how that can actually like reduce stress and increase feelings of like well-being.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that, iftar, especially after a day of, of fasting would have that same like kind of effect on people.
Yeah. It's like, it's not just about the food itself. It's about, the social and emotional nourishment.
Right.
That comes with like sharing a meal together, especially in the context of Ramadan.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got, suhoor setting the stage for the day, iftar bringing everyone together.
Right.
And then all of, all the spiritual practices that kind of are woven in throughout.
Yeah.
It's really starting to paint a picture of like how rich and layered this whole experience is.
It really is.
Yeah. But we've only just scratched the surface.
Okay.
There's so much more to uncover about the deeper spiritual practices that make Ramadan such a truly transformative experience.
Okay, well, I'm ready to keep going. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so when you say like deeper spiritual practices, what comes to mind first?
Well, I mean, you're talking about those late night prayers. I'm sure you've heard.
Oh yeah, like the ones that go on for hours and
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's called Tarawih.
Okay.
And just imagine this: like every night during Ramadan, mosques are filled with people. They gather together and they pray and they recite long sections of the Quran.
Wow, it sounds almost meditative.
Yeah.
like a real collective.
It's a very
spiritual experience.
Energy in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. And but what's really interesting is that, a lot of people, they actually set a goal for themselves to try to recite the entire Quran by the end of Ramadan.
Wow.
And our sources talk about how, by doing that, it creates this really deep connection with the text.
Yeah.
Like, they're almost reliving the revelation itself.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing level of dedication.
It is.
It makes me think about when you hear about those like really intense study sessions in like yeshivas or monasteries.
Oh yeah. Like where it's just this total immersion in sacred text.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a great comparison.
Yeah.
And it really underscores how, Ramadan is about so much more than just, abstaining from food and drink.
Right.
It's about really actively engaging with your faith.
Yeah.
And pushing yourself to grow spiritually.
And then also there's the, we talked about before, like that outward kind of ripple effect too,
And one of the most remarkable things about Ramadan is how it really does like transform entire communities.
Oh, wait, so like paint me a picture. Like what does that look like in real life?
So imagine, you're walking through a Muslim neighborhood during Ramadan.
Okay.
especially after iftar. The streets are just bustling with life. Like people are out visiting their friends and family, sharing meals. Like kids are playing in the streets. There's just this like palpable sense of joy and togetherness.
It almost sounds like a month-long celebration.
Yeah, in a way it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's also this like undercurrent of deep spiritual reflection that's happening as well.
So it's both.
Yeah, it's this really fascinating kind of like paradox.
Yeah.
Where, you have this like individual introspection happening, but then also this like outward expression of joy and generosity.
Yeah, well, and speaking of generosity, we can't not talk about
Laylatul Qadr.
The Laylatul Qadr, yes.
The night of power.
The night of power.
And that's considered like even like holier than
it is. It's
the other night.
It's considered the holiest night of the year.
Wow.
And it's believed to be the night when the Quran was first revealed to the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
And while we don't know the exact date, it's said to fall within the last 10 nights of Ramadan.
So there's like this element of like mystery
absolutely.
and anticipation.
Yeah. Like people are literally searching for
they're searching for the holiest night.
Yeah, the holiest night.
Here. And that search really intensifies, their spiritual practice. Mosques are packed. People spend the night in prayer. They they seek forgiveness. They make fervent supplications. It's really a very powerful experience.
And I understand that that the emphasis on charity is even like more pronounced during Laylatul Qadr. Is that right?
It is, yeah, because giving to charity on this night is believed to be especially rewarding.
Okay.
And so, people really go above and beyond to help those in need.
Wow.
You see an increase in donations, volunteer work, acts of kindness. It's really like the entire community is striving to embody that spirit of compassion.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like all of these practices, the fasting and the prayer and the charity, it really does like weave together to create this like real tapestry of spiritual and social transformation.
It does. It's a very holistic experience.
Yeah.
And that transformation, it actually extends far beyond just the month of Ramadan itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of our sources, it was a study on the long-term effects of Ramadan.
Okay.
And they found that people who observe the month, they actually experience lasting benefits.
Wow.
In terms of like, self-control and empathy and even like overall well-being.
So it's not just like a temporary...
Right. It's not just a temporary behavior change.
Yeah.
It's really about like cultivating qualities that stick with you.
Long after.
Yeah. And that's what I think makes Ramadan, so much more than just like a religious obligation.
Right.
It's really like this powerful tool for personal and societal growth.
Yeah.
But of course, no discussion of Ramadan would be complete without talking about the grand finale.
Yes.
Which is Eidul Fitr.
Eid. Yeah.
The festival of breaking the fast.
Yes, the celebration everyone looks forward to
That's
after,
right.
A month of fasting and
a month of spiritual discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious, like what are some of like the most striking traditions associated with Eid?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it's a time for family and friends to come together.
Okay.
There's a special Eid prayer in the morning.
Okay.
Followed by, these elaborate feasts and, gift giving, especially for children, and just a lot of socializing. And
so it sounds like it's really, really festive.
It's very festive. Yeah. People dress in their finest clothes. Homes are decorated, and the air is just filled with laughter and celebration.
That's great.
Yeah, one of our sources described it as like a collective sigh of relief and gratitude.
Oh, I love it.
After the month of fasting.
Yeah.
So it's really like the entire community is kind of like exhaling together.
Right. Sharing this moment
of pure joy and appreciation.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But even amidst all the festivities, the spirit of giving remains very strong.
Right.
And so before Eid prayers, Muslims give something called zakat al-fitr.
Okay.
Which is a special form of charity that that basically ensures that everyone can participate in the celebrations,
right,
regardless of, their financial means.
So it's like a reminder that even in moments of celebration, we shouldn't forget
those who are less fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eid is really about, sharing the joy, spreading the blessings, and kind of like reaffirming those values of compassion and unity.
Right.
That, have been cultivated throughout the month of Ramadan.
So it's like this, incredible journey that starts with, personal reflection and spiritual discipline.
Yeah.
And then it ripples outward. To transform communities.
Yeah.
And then it all like culminates in this joyous celebration that kind of...
That reinforces those values.
Reinforces all those values.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's a pretty remarkable cycle.
It really is.
And it all goes back to that core idea that we talked about earlier. Like Ramadan is really about, taking the divine guidance that's revealed in the Quran.
Right.
And translating it into action, both within ourselves and, within the world around us.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
It's really beautiful.
It's really amazing. It's both like deeply personal, but also incredibly communal at the same time.
It is, yeah.
It's like this individual journey, but it's also like woven into this larger tapestry of shared experience.
Mm-hmm. Right? It's like everyone's, walking their own spiritual path, but those paths kind of converge and intersect.
Right.
And that creates this really powerful sense of unity.
Yeah, and it seems like that unity even kind of like extends beyond just, the Muslim community.
Oh, absolutely.
I've noticed just in my own life how, Ramadan often sparks, curiosity and interest from people of different faiths and backgrounds.
Absolutely. It's a month that really invites dialogue and understanding.
Yeah.
One of our sources even talked about how, some non-Muslims, they actually choose to participate in certain aspects of Ramadan.
Oh, wow.
Like, maybe they'll try fasting for a day or give to charity as a way to like show solidarity.
Yeah.
Or even just to kind of explore, their own spirituality.
Yeah. That's really fascinating.
That's really cool.
It suggests that like the values at the heart of Ramadan, like self-discipline, empathy, generosity, these are things that like really resonate.
They're universal.
Yeah, with people from all walks of life.
Yeah, and that's what makes this deep dive, so relevant, even for people who aren't, directly observing Ramadan.
Right.
Because these are principles that can really enrich anyone's life.
Yeah, and I keep thinking back to that doctor we were talking about before.
Oh, right, yeah.
Who talked about how fasting helped her connect with her patient's suffering.
Right.
And, that's such a powerful example of how, like, a practice that's rooted in faith can have, like, really, really concrete...
Real-world applications.
Real-world applications, yeah.
Yeah, and it challenges us to think about how we can cultivate those same qualities in our own lives, regardless of our beliefs.
Right. Absolutely. So I guess as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I'm honestly left with just this sense of awe, at the depth and the richness of Ramadan. It's clearly much more than just a religious observance.
It is, yeah.
It's really a transformative experience that touches every aspect of life. From the personal to the societal.
I couldn't agree more. It's really a testament to the power of faith to, inspire individual growth and foster these community bonds and even, create positive change in the world.
Yeah, I think we've successfully kind of navigated the complexities of Ramadan.
I think so.
We've unpacked the spiritual significance. We've explored the diverse traditions,
the different layers.
Yeah, and we've really tried to uncover the deeper meaning. Behind all these practices.
Yeah, we've journeyed from the quiet moments of suhoor to the joyous gatherings of iftar.
Right.
From the depths of Taraweeh prayers to the anticipation of Laylatul Qadr.
Right.
And, of course, culminating in that grand celebration of Eid al-Fitr.
Yeah. And we hope that this deep dive has left you with a newfound appreciation.
Yeah, new understanding.
For this really remarkable month, whether you're observing it or just, seeking knowledge.
Absolutely. And if you are observing Ramadan, we wish you a very blessed and fulfilling month.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive today.
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. What aspect of Ramadan resonated with you the most?
Yeah, think about it.
And why? What insights will you carry with you beyond this deep dive? We'd love for you to continue exploring and reflecting on this rich tapestry
Yeah, keep
born
it.
of Ramadan. So, till next time.
Take care.